Welcome back to Game of the Month number 3. This month we are covering Goldeneye 007 for its 25th anniversary that occurred just yesterday. And I'm not going to lie, I've spent a lot of time with Goldeneye over this month. So really looking forward to discuss this with my friend in chat here, Zachary. Zachary, how are you doing this fine evening?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Doing good, man. Thank you once again for joining me. You are just the absolute regular on this show right now, and I absolutely love it. But GoldenEye 007 for N64, just so much to say about this game. Like, that's one of the reasons why I did an actual retro review for this one as well, on top of this Game of the Month discussion, just because, like, the historical importance of this game, the personal nostalgia for this game, it's just so many things to discuss, and I love it so much. And hate it all at the same time. It's but yeah, so this past month with the game, I have gone through it again on every difficulty level, gone through and done all the retro achievements in it, and it was quite a task, like a lot of fun. Brought streaming back even on the channel, so it's been fun having everyone involved with that again as well. But I think I've taken up enough time here. Zachary, how far did you get in this game during this month for Game of the Month?
I got about 4 levels in, and it wasn't from a lack of trying. I started with normal, and then I realized this game was harder than I remembered, so I had to go back down to an easier difficulty, and then life caught up with me. So
understandable.
Yeah. I did play it a ton back in the day though, so it might not be fresh on the mind, but like I played it a lot, so
for sure.
I'm sure it'll come back.
And I mean, even still, like, that's one of the nice things about these Game of the Month discussions. A little bit of playthrough, a lot of playthrough, like, you're still able to contribute to the overall conversation, and even a nostalgic look back. Like,
yeah,
it's all valid.
I would definitely say I've got my nostalgia. I was able to check, like, is this game as I remember it? Is it better or worse than I remember it? So, yeah.
So what do you think then? What do you think revisiting it a little bit compared to nostalgia then?
So I'm actually going to say something that surprises myself. I actually think it holds up quite well. There are flaws, but
for sure,
those are flaws with how games are done nowadays. It's not necessarily flaws with the game itself. Like, because when you look at like early platformers that tried to clone the Mario formula, but they failed, like the whole Bubsy stuff. Like, those are just bad games. But like this,
right.
like, even if it's dated, it's not bad. So that's my overarching impression of it.
Well, that's nice to hear. Like, a lot of people come back to this game after not playing it for years and just think it's, like, absolute trash. Like, the number one complaint is always controls, which I think is the most hilarious argument that people make about this game. The controls don't hold up. It's like, do you play any modern shooter? Because you can literally make the controls the exact same thing, except instead of 2 thumbsticks, you're using 1 for digital movement. So, I mean, I brought props here for show and tell even. So, I mean, N64 controller, by default, the legacy controls are crap. Like, you have your C buttons for strafe, and then you move forward and turn with the thumbstick. And, like, that's crap. Take 30 seconds, press start, go over a couple menus, change it to 1.2 solitaire, and all of a sudden, your C buttons are move forward, strafe, move back, and you have free look on your thumbstick.
Yeah.
And
like that's modern controls even before Halo revolutionized modern controls.
Yeah, so I mean, that's Southpaw controls, and that is where I learned how to play shooters, was from playing GoldenEye a ton with this control setup. So I mean, that was my control setup. So even today, I use this thumbstick to move around, this thumbstick to look, because that's what it's always been. But even if you play just normal default in today's controllers, like you move with this one, aim with this one, guess what? This controller's still ready to accommodate, hey, look, you can move with the D-pad, free look with this controller, and like you're able to hit all those buttons that you need. And both shoulder buttons bring up on-sight aiming, and then your trigger is in the Z position. So I mean, anyone that says the controls don't hold up is kind of ridiculous in my opinion. Like, they obviously don't take the time to look at what control options are available.
And unpopular take, but the hidden genius of the 3-prong controller design showing itself, because you can hold it like this or like this. Like, that's what it was. That's why it was designed like that. Sure, it might have been clunky, but it was for a first draft 3D controller. I think it's pretty good.
Well, I mean, like, games are either designed to be held like this or like this. Like, Goldeneye is one of those rare titles where you can actually do it like this and really get away with it.
Yeah, an unintended perk of the control scheme.
And I mean, like, it worked out fine. Like, 3D games weren't really a thing. Like, sure, the dual analog sticks coming out on the DualShock was awesome. But I mean, you need to remember, Sony had a couple years of looking at what the N64 controller offered before they made the DualShock and the dual analog and all that. So it's like...
Yeah,
I don't know. For what is on offer, this is pretty good.
Yeah, first-gen PS1 controllers didn't have analog sticks,
nope,
right?
They were pure digital.
Yeah, so...
And because of that, the system had... Every game made for the system had to allow for digital-only control, because not everyone was going to have a DualShock. And that's why the DualShock has that button in the middle that says analog, so you could turn the sticks on and off for games that didn't support the sticks. But we're digressing away from our topic at hand, which is okay. Like, that's one of the great things about discussions as well, but...
Yeah, well,
back to my original point. Anyone that say the controls don't hold up, go to the options screen and change it to modern controls.
Yeah, it takes 30 seconds.
And if you can't handle digital movement, you obviously have never played mouse and keyboard.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry.
I played on Brawler. I love this thing so much.
Oh yeah, see, that's the thing. Like, the modern replacement controllers make that a little bit more difficult to do the default options. I mean, the original controller is definitely the best for that. But if you have big hands like I do, you can still, like, reach over there and.
Yeah, I'm even going to defend the default controls because I didn't change them. I actually just played with the default.
The default, nice.
Again. Yeah, it was clunky, but it's just tank controls, right?
Yeah,
like,
for the most part, like Metroid Prime.
Yeah, it's like, Metroid Prime, driving games. It's just, like, I'm sorry it doesn't feel like games that weren't even made yet, I'm sorry I didn't have a Y button to swap your weapons. Like that.
You have an A button to swap your weapons. It's good.
Yeah, so, and of course, that's going to be subjective, but, like, it's one of those... You kind of have to forgive the game. Like, it really did pioneer a lot, even if other games came along that pushed those standards further. It's not like it's uncontrollable. Again, it's not like Bubsy where you literally cannot control it and cannot see where you're going. It's like, it's a little clunky. But once you kind of get into the groove of it, like, it's not bad. Now, after all that praise, because it is a discussion, I do want to gripe about one thing. I could never properly aim, even with this stick is wonderful, but the way the reticule moves, it's like, you can never
you have encountered one of the downfalls of the modern replacement sticks is that while the wireless Brawler and wireless Tribute offer a lot more accuracy compared to their wired versions, they are still the wireless Brawlers in this case, a little more so than Tributes. Tributes actually stop around the perfect range, but they are N64 analog sticks usually stop around the 88 mark, so the wireless Brawlers typically go out to about 90, 95.
Oh, okay.
And the wireless Tributes stick around 88 to 92/3 on my units. And the dead zone on the Tribute is a lot easier to work around because of its bigger thumb cap compared to the Brawler.
Yeah.
So I totally understand where you're coming from in that regard.
Well, yeah, I see what you're saying. So I'll give the game a pass there because if I played with an actual N64 controller from the time, it probably would have been
good
better.
analog stick is a must for this game, but that's not really a fault of the game more than a fault with how Nintendo built the controllers in my mind.
Yeah,
but,
and
like,
I find it kind of weird that it's not like a range of like 0 to 100% press that like different controllers can have different max values. I think that's kind of a weird thing. But like you said, that's the controller. That's not really the game. That's
another thing that makes N64 emulation so hard is using modern controllers. Like the thumbstick range is so excessive.
Yeah.
Like you really got to fine tune it in the emulator to really get it to not suck.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
in my programming, it's easy. It's literally just a value of 0 to 1. So it doesn't matter to the controller you have. It's going to be a 0 to 1 ratio.
Yep.
1 for full press, 0 for no press. So,
yeah.
But that's getting off topic. So then, the controls hold up pretty good.
Yeah. And again, you can hook up 2 N64 controllers if you need dual analog too. Like, I get so irritated by hearing that argument that the controls don't hold up when they hold up just fine if you take 10 seconds to actually go in and change the value down one control scheme. And I mean,
again,
how often have y'all seen me play Halo and Apex on this controller? Like, it's fine.
Good bit.
Like, it holds up just fine. Like,
yeah.
I have to not use my GoldenEye scheme when I do that. Like, I don't use these for movement. I have to use the D-pad for movement, and since I have big hands, it works. But, like, in a sense, it's similar enough. But, like, it's doable.
And it's not a tangent at this point at gamers. I think it's that you need an open mind that I don't like the idea that all games have to have the same control scheme. Like, if it's an FPS, it has to control like Call of Duty. Like, no, again, Metroid Prime, right?
I will say, depending on the genre, because, I mean, technically Metroid Prime is a first-person adventure, whereas, like, in a post-Halo world, if you have controls that are very weird and out there, for example, look at look at Resistance on PS3. Like, that game has really weird controls, and it's like, in a post-Halo world, this makes no sense. Like,
fair enough.
It's just strange, but
fair enough.
But in a game like GoldenEye, where you don't need a lot of controls, and the fact that it does have modern controller layout if you take the time to do it, and it even has features that modern games are usually lacking, like leaning. Like, you can crouch in this game. You can strafe. You can free look. You can lean. Like, not many modern games really let you lean.
Yeah.
Especially on console. Like, on PC, you get lean controls in a lot of games, but on console, they usually strip leaning out, which is really stupid.
Strategy.
I guess.
Tactics.
I mean, that's one of the things that I'd say is probably dated about GoldenEye. When you're manually aiming, you, of course, stuck in place like a Resident Evil game, but at the same time, it's
a part of the challenge, though, because the game was designed around those limitations. I think going back to that Resistance thing, Resistance was trying to be a competitor to Halo, but with worse controls to Halo. So it didn't transfer as well. No. Whereas GoldenEye was built around its limited control scheme, the same way Resident Evil 4 is built around its limited control scheme. The control scheme was a part of the design process.
True enough. But I mean, I think we've covered controls pretty exhaustively at this point. So it's no secret that I absolutely love the game. So I want to instead just jump into some of the things.
I want to add one more note to that before you go.
Okay, let's go. Let's hear it.
I think people weren't. I was in this camp as well before I played it, that it wouldn't work well on the N64 online service. I take that back. I think with these control schemes, like we've talked, there are modern control schemes in the menus. You just have to look. Yep. So I say that it will work.
Yep.
Okay, continue on.
All right. So rather than kind of talk about some of the other things first, I want to just dive right into what I actually think doesn't hold up about the game, because there's actually a surprising amount about this game that fits really well in today's market, especially for shooters, because a lot of people are kind of going back to this Doom-esque inspired design for gaming. GoldenEye took kind of that Doom formula, but added the objectives to it rather than just finding the keys. But levels were designed in such a way that there's a lot of non-linear approaches to a lot of them. There's a lot of linear levels like Silo that was just on demo there. But for the most part, they're very open levels in how you approach them. You still have to get from point A to point B, but you can do different things in a lot of the levels, which is cool. But anyway, the things that I think don't hold up about the game: enemy AI behavior, Natalia, and the inventory system. So the inventory system is especially bloated because you press A to swap through your weapons, and it's you pick up a new gun, it's added to your inventory indefinitely. Like every new gun gets added in, so like it just keeps getting bigger, which is a pain. So you can press start, go into your awesome watch, scroll through all the weapons, find the one you want. But a lot of objective items do not pop up when you're just pressing A scrolling through. So you're forced to go into the pause menu, equip it, use it, and then you can press A to go back to your normal weapon, which is cool. But just having to go in and out of the inventory for certain things is really frustrating, especially since you can die bringing up the pause menu. Like, it's not start, it's pause. It's start, you're going to get shot for 5 seconds, and if you're playing on higher difficulties, hey, you're dead. And then same thing with unpausing it. They give you a bit of iframes when you unpause, but by the time your watch gets down here, you're still dead a lot of the times if you're not planning where you're doing these pauses. And it's so clunky. Like, that's one of my most frustrating aspects of this game.
Is reload and interact are both the B button.
Yep.
So there are times where it's like, reload, door opens. Like, no.
Yep. That happens. That will happen too. Like, in my numerous train replays, I'm hiding in that one little bathroom door. I'm like, all right, I need to reload. I better turn this way so I don't open the door.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
But
finish your thought.
That's what's crazy about the inventory, though. Like, you look at Goldeneye 97 compared to, 2000-2001's Perfect Dark. So, like, just a 3-4 year difference in time release.
Yeah.
And the inventory system in Perfect Dark is just amazing in comparison. You just hold down the B button, it brings up a quick selection thing with everything on it. Like, it's or hold down A rather. Holding down B swaps your weapon mode. But it's so nice. It's like, look at that. Just such a short amount of time in the grand scheme of things, and it was just polished that much on the same hardware. Like,
yeah,
that's awesome. Like, comparing it to today's games,
it's
gonna suck, of course, but like comparing it to something on the same hardware, even, like, that's where I think a real good comparison comes in, personally.
Mm-hmm.
But man, that inventory system's such a
yeah. Oof. Yeah. Something else that I don't think aged too well. I'm not going to say it's a double-edged sword, but it's kind of a double-edged sword that could be worked around. So
all right.
I like that the levels have empty rooms. Kind of like they said, it makes the space feel like a real space. Like, not every spot is a place for you to shoot bad guys and do an objective. Sometimes there really is just a random room.
Yeah. It's a supply closet.
It's a supply closet. There's supplies in there. The one thing, though, is I found myself failing levels, accidentally finishing the level.
Oh.
Because, like, I did that in Complex. I was like, okay, so I'm going to go in this room. It's like, oh, that's the end. And then it brings up, didn't talk to double agent, didn't talk to...
Yes, yes.
Great.
Oh, man, yes.
Yeah, so...
That just comes from memorization at that point, too. Yeah. I'm pretty sure young me ran right at the end of a level without realizing it plenty of times, too.
Yeah, so...
Versus me now that's been playing the game for 25 years. It's like, all right, do you do all this? All right, there's the exit.
And I think that could have been worked around if there was some kind of, like, notice. Like, even if it was just a caption, like Bond saying, am I truly ready to leave this area? Or something like that.
Cool. Yeah, that would have been really cool.
Just something, it's just some kind of hint that you're leaving this space. Turn around.
Yeah. I kind of wish that when you failed an objective, it would restart the level too. Because having to, like, you kill Natalia for the 100th time, you have to go into the pause menu, cancel out of the level, reload the level. Like would have been nice if it had a restart, but oh well.
Some of those levels can take a few minutes to beat too.
Oh yeah, especially if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, so I don't want to say it needs a checkpoint system, but it kind of needs a checkpoint system, right?
That's one of those more modern conveniences that we take for granted in older games all the time, though.
Yeah, I don't want to fault the game for that because it is just
for that.
Yeah, it is just a part of the challenge of the game of the era, but. yes, modern me is spoiled by that. It's like, great. Now I got to do all that again. Got to sneak around all those guards. Got to, yeah.
That was what was crazy about finishing up the retro achievements. It showed me how fast a lot of these levels can be beat, even on the hardest difficulty. Like Defense Ministry, like that took me like 10, 15 minutes to beat in my stream. And then I had to unlock the cheat code for it, and you have to beat it in 1 minute and 20 seconds. And it's like, are you serious? And then the train, that one took me like 11 minutes to beat on 00 Agent, and then it's like, beat it in under 5. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, you can do that?
Like, what?
Yeah.
Holy crap. And did it. Totally did it. Did it right here with this controller. Like, it was great. Great experience.
Encouraging speed running before speed running was really big.
Yeah, like this game has cool speed runs too, by the way, but that's a different topic entirely.
We're not here to talk speed running.
But yeah, oh man, I cannot get over the fact that it teaches you the things that are exploitable in the enemy AI, that's for sure. And that's another reason why I say the enemy AI doesn't hold up. Like, they run in, they get into a firing position. Like, they give you, like, a good 4 seconds to get out of the way or get them before they start shooting at you. And, like, once they start shooting, you can easily outstrafe and get behind them while they're trying to stand up, turn around, line up their next shot. Like, it's super easy on every difficulty to really get around the enemies. And so, I mean, it doesn't hold up as well, but that's what the 007 difficulty's for. You can turn the reaction times up to, like... insane amounts, and it's just like they're on you instantly. Like that's really cool.
Yeah, another exploit is doors. So the door closes, it starts to open. You shoot the 2 guards, and then you close it, and then it starts to open again, and then you shoot them and close the door.
Yep, the enemy.
That's pretty much how I got through Complex.
The enemy behavior has trouble with hallways and doors, or railings and doors. So in like the last couple of levels, Cradle and Caverns, you can literally shoot people as they're running at you because they're narrow corridors with little rails on them, and the rails are treated as like you can't see through them. The enemy AI cannot see through them, but you can as the player, so you can just pick everybody off.
Yeah, that's
as
funny.
They're going across these rails, and that's how a lot of people back in the day would beat Xenia in the jungle level. Is they would run across the bridge, start her encounter, run back across the bridge, stand right here where she can't see him, and just blast her as she's walking across the bridge, try to get shot out. So, it's definitely one of the things that doesn't hold up as well about the game, but it is definitely, it's not without its charm in a sense as well. Because new players aren't going to know that stuff, so new players are going to start playing that game and just get absolutely shredded on the hardest difficulties until they can start understanding how it works. I mean, that's happened to me again.
Yeah, and that's the fun of harder difficulties, is the harder difficulties don't ask you to play the game, they ask you to master it. Like Halo Legendary. You can't just go through Halo Legendary. You have to know how Halo works. So, you know, like Legendary difficulties is asking you to find those exploits to understand the engine and its limitations. You know, figure out how you can manipulate the game to work in your favor.
Oh yeah. But like I said, that's one of the areas I think doesn't hold up as well, especially in Natalia's AI behavior. Like, she'll just do random stupid crap with her pathing. She'll stop doing her tasks on me a couple times.
Yeah. I remember seeing a view shooting, and then she falls down in front of your gun. Right.
I blasted her hard. Oh, man.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Damn Quest AI. It's like, you need a button. It's like, stop.
Yeah. I hate Natalia. Like, Natalia is, like, I think the enemy behavior is fun and quirky and can be really interesting, but everything about Natalia just kind of irritates me. Like, I'm sorry.
She gets in your way. Like, they didn't even program her not to run in front of you. It's like, they could have programmed her to stay somewhere behind you. Yeah. So that way you can put yourself between her and enemies.
I mean, it is what it is. It's an old game. It's an early 3D shooter. It's the first 3D shooter that actually proved 3D shooters can be done on console. So, I mean, a lot of it needs to Like, a lot of it does get a pass in that regard, especially from the historical value aspect of it in my mind, but it's still one of the things that will definitely frustrate new players that are looking to approach this game, especially if it does get ported to Xbox and Switch.
It makes me sad that the original 360 version didn't come out. If this rumored port does happen, I hope it's a modernization in the same vein that what was it, Perfect Dark got when it came to 360.
Yeah, the 4J Studios released a Perfect Dark.
Yeah, I hope it actually brings it up to modern standards, because we gave it a lot of praise earlier for its controls, and that's still true, but there is a lot of truth in that.
In the controls.
Yeah. But yeah, there definitely is room for improvement.
Yeah. What else?
There's also
doesn't really
I want to talk about the music.
Oh,
the music is lit. Like, it is like, there are very few games, in my opinion, that have truly unique soundtracks, and that is one of them. Like, there's no game that has that sound, that feeling. Like, it is nailed perfectly, even today.
Yeah,
it
is so good.
Nothing like it.
So good. And, like, every level has its own individual track, too, which is really impressive for an N64 game. And I would not think that the music in this game is compressed. Like, listening to it as you play it, like, I would not think that this music is compressed, but, like, every N64 game, it actually is. But it's just that well done. Like, it's nuts. And it just has the perfect 007 feel to it. Like, it's very 007.
Something else that is really unique to it is, it's like, there's no real one word for it, but it's like, it has a good sense of isolation, but not like horror game isolation where you're weakened. It's like, you are very much in control of the situation. You just have to be intelligent to take advantage of it. Yeah, your Bond. So,
your Bond.
Yeah, it's like, it's isolation, but you're the monster. So I very much love that aspect. Yeah, until you get to Natalia, then you're the chump. Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to give a quick shout out to the soundtrack, and even like little things like the watch, like you bring it up, just that little jingle in the background is like so good. I love it.
This is a good opportunity to expand upon the rest of the sound work, though, because this game has just an impressive amount of sound effects that it could draw upon. Like, for the time, like, I don't think anyone else took this much time, but there's like 9 or 10 different bullet ricochet sound effects that can play if a bullet hits a wall. Like, the shots themselves vary. Like, just, there's so much work that was done in this, and it's so impressive. And it's crisp too. Like, the sound effects are very crisp. They don't sound compressed at all either. I'm not sure if they are or not. Most likely are, but like,
the gun sounds,
you can't tell. Like, it's not like going to something like Mega Man 64 where it's like, oh, this is heavily compressed. The sounds don't sound compressed at all, and like, all the guns have really good sound effects. They put a lot of little personality into it, and a little bit of a segue, like the animations the AI do. I love those animations. There's
like,
so many.
So
many.
Yeah, that's something that a lot of even modern games don't bother to do. Like, sure, there might be a quick, like, ow, I got shot animation, but it's just not as expressive.
No,
because even in, like, Goldeneye, it's like where you shoot them.
Yes, every single limb has a different animation, and you shoot them in the butt, and they have a different animation. Like, it's freaking hilarious. Like, there's so much, and I cannot think of a single game that came before Goldeneye. Like, I didn't I never played any pre-Goldeneye PlayStation shooters, so I can't really comment to this. But like, Goldeneye is the first like 3D game I ever remember playing where you would be shooting the gun and shells are actually flying out of the gun's model, and it's leaving bullet holes in the walls when you shoot it, and like, not just a few, like, there's a lot before they start despawning. There's a crap ton. And
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
got a lot of
nuts.
decals in its memory. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's so impressive. Just even today, like going back at it and looking at it, like that's impressive. 'Cause, I
Yeah.
mean, even in Halo 1, like you'd shoot the walls, it leaves bullet holes, but like they don't stay as long as in GoldenEye from what I
No,
remember.
yeah.
Like it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, like in Halo 1, like one room might look battle scarred, but like it doesn't last long after that.
Yeah, it deloads after a while for sure to save on memory,
Yeah.
but like it's just crazy. Like
Yeah.
it's very impressive, especially considering its age, considering what system it's on. Like it's cool.
Yeah, and the texture work is really good too. And the N64 is infamous for having like what is a 4 kilobyte texture cache or cache.
Man, that's the one thing that really limited the N64. If they didn't mess up that texture cache, things would have been like insane.
Yeah.
Like when you really stop to think about it, like that texture cache ruined everything because like people were having to use like giant textures to fill up one area, or to fill up an entire area instead of being able to use littler textures just because they didn't have enough room for it. And so I think GoldenEye strikes a pretty good balance on it. I mean, I don't think the textures on a lot of things are super great. That's one of the things that I nicked about it in my recent retro review. Is like it's dated, but it is a lot better than most N64 games, that's for sure. But there's a lot,
especially the faces.
Oh yeah,
but faces are hard to get anyway.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of N64 games that will look better, that do look better. I mean. But there's also a crap ton of N64 games that look way worse.
Yeah, and considering everything else that they absolutely nailed with it, it's still top notch.
Yeah, I mean, models are a bit blocky. The environment's a bit blocky, but I mean, it just comes from the time period, really.
Yeah, that's just what N64 games look like.
That's part of the retro charm of the whole thing. Like, I'm not gonna fault it for that. There's a lot of indoor corridor levels, but I mean, that's to be expected from this era of shooter.
Yeah.
There were also the surface outdoor levels, which was pretty new at the time. And I mean, we wouldn't even get like better, really fully realized outdoor fighting until Halo. Like that's what made Halo so revolutionary, is it took shooters out of the corridor.
Yeah.
I mean, all the biggest shooters at the time, like Quake, Doom, GoldenEye. I don't think Forsaken was really that big, but I still count it, even though it was like a flying game. But like that one was all in. Like, that was mostly in corridors, too. There's a lot of corridors involved in this stuff, and it wasn't until Halo really opened it up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Even other platformers had a lot of rooms. Yeah, it was just a limit of the time.
Oh, yeah, like Super Mario 64 had, like, the most expansive levels for a long time.
Yeah.
And then Banjo really opened up that, like, when we revisited Banjo, like, that had some pretty big worlds in it.
Yeah.
I've never really played Spyro, so I can't really attest to that, but I know Crash was a lot more linear in its platforming for the first one, at least.
Crash at least tried to make that a part of its charm, though. So.
Yeah, I mean, it works for it. It works for that game. But even still, like, even though GoldenEye could still be classified as a corridor shooter, like, it still felt a lot bigger than a lot of what came before and after.
Yeah, and like Complex, Complex had rooms too that had other rooms attached to it. So while you might have still been indoors, there was a little bit more freedom in that exploration.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the interesting things when you look back at the history of the development of this game. It was originally going to be a Super Nintendo platformer. Mm-hmm. Then they move it to N64. And they can't quite decide if they're going to have it be free roam or on rails like Virtual Cop. Yeah. So the levels were designed around being on rail for part of it.
Yeah, which is where
part of the development
empty rooms come from.
That's why, like, a lot of these other things, like a lot of these alternate pathways exist because you were going to be on a rail going around this stuff. But then they changed it to free look, and the world's better off for it, of course.
Yeah.
But can you believe this game was only made by 9 people? Like,
yeah, it is insane.
Insane.
Yeah.
Just absolutely mind-boggling. And oh man. Just
Yeah.
absolutely nuts to like really think about. 9 people like made one of the most historically important shooters of all time. It's like
Yeah.
you look back at the history of shooters and you've got Doom, like that's your granddaddy. Like even though Wolfenstein did a lot of what Doom did first in a limited capacity, it's like Doom was the one that revolutionized it. Doom was the one that was the cloned one. Like they expanded on it with Quake, but it's like no, it's Doom. Doom. And then Goldeneye is the next big one. Like Goldeneye.
On top of revolutionizing shooters, it also revolutionized licensed games.
True enough.
Like it is one of the few licensed games that actually was as good as the source material.
True enough. And even the liberties they took with the storytelling in this game feel good. Like it feels good. It feels like it adds to the universe.
Yeah. And it feels like you are playing a James Bond, like you are in the movie.
Oh, yeah. It's interesting to think about some of the content they cut. Like from the dam mission, when you jumped off, they wanted you to originally fire the grapple hook into the roof of the building to get into the facility, like in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, that would have been cool and all, but oh well.
It's probably better they cut it, though. Like,
yeah, it really is.
Could you imagine trying to aim that
my gosh,
as
and
you're
you just
falling
splatter.
on a time limit? Yeah.
You splatter
So
on the ground.
yeah, it would have been cool, but it's probably better because at that point you've already played through a difficult level if you're playing on a higher difficulty. So to lose all that progress because you couldn't aim quickly enough.
Yep.
Yeah, it's probably better.
Yeah. It's just cool to think about.
It would have been cool though. Also, the multiplayer. I can't remember the tangent
I was on there.
Yeah. What were we talking about? I don't know. We were talking about guards. Yeah, 9 people dev team, licensed games.
So speaking of other things that were cut, so this was one of the first games that really took advantage of the Rumble Pack. You know, after Star Fox 64, like this one was heavily advertised for Rumble Pack compatibility. Yeah. They were originally going to make it so you would unhook the Rumble Pack and put it back in to reload.
I remember hearing that.
Like that.
I'm glad they didn't do that.
That would have destroyed the controller like nobody's business.
Yeah.
But that would have been so cool.
That would have been so
all
cool
at the same time.
Yeah. Glad they didn't do it.
No,
but dang,
so glad they didn't.
So
Nintendo put the kibosh on that one. They're like, no.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good thing, but that would have been cool.
That's good that didn't happen.
Yeah.
It would have been so cool though. Oh man, I need to reload. It's cool.
It would have been so cool, especially if at that point too they wouldn't have made like accessories for that, like memory cards or Rumble Packs shaped like magazines. Yeah, like imagine getting a Rumble Pack shaped like an AK-47 magazine.
That's what's funny. Like the Z button on the back of the N64 controller. Like I didn't know anyone that called this a button. This was always the trigger. Like press your trigger. Like no one called it Z back when I was growing up. Everyone called it trigger. Press the trigger, and it's like, like,
it fits.
It works. Like that's trigger, all right.
It's where a trigger goes.
Yep, that's a trigger. Oh man, but I can't. Oh, did you know that there is also a full ZX Spectrum emulator in this game?
I did.
I think that is cool. That is super every cool. Single cartridge of this game has a fully functional ZX Spectrum emulator with access to 11 games, but it was removed from the final. Accessibility to it was removed in the final game, so you could still get at it with a Game Shark, which is really nuts. And it was a programming exercise that they were doing or something. I remember reading about it forever ago, but like that's cool. I've not accessed it myself yet. I really mean to, but like just the fact that it exists is like so cool.
Yeah. And it's in there in its completion. There's just not a menu prompt to take you there, but that doesn't mean you can't get there, like you said, through shark code.
Yeah. And they would end up using that in Donkey Kong 64, didn't they? Didn't Donkey Kong 64 have the unlockable?
I believe so. For like the banana coin or whatever it was you got for playing the arcade games.
The ZX Spectrum games in Donkey Kong 64.
I don't know. I'm pulling up repressed memories.
I'm not a big Donkey Kong 64 fan, but I remember that you could do Jetpack and other ZX Spectrum games from Rare, and it was because they made it in this game.
Yeah.
But, okay, we're gonna dive into the meat of this game now because we haven't already. Multiplayer.
Mm-hmm. Many
My
sleepovers.
Gosh, the amount of hours that we sunk into multiplayer, just both standard and Game Shark multiplayer. Game Shark multiplayer, holy crap, the things you could unlock. Like you could unlock every campaign level to be multiplayer.
Oh, that's cool.
So they have the facility. They have the first part up until you get to the doors at the end of that hallway where you have to go to either side and open the computer to access either one of those. With a Game Shark code to walk through walls, you have access to the entire level. And
that's awesome.
Fighting in the bottling room at the very end of the game was such a blast. Like one of us would take up a sniper perch in the back top corner. Like you'd walk in, you go down those stairs, and then there's the door that you go out to exit. But up in this corner is a little sniper nest. And so we'd set up one of us to be there as sniper, and whoever happened to kill them would take the sniper position. And we just take turns doing that, and like it's just so much fun. And then of course proximity mines on the same level was just an absolute hoot. Like so many blind corners, you just run in, die instantly.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like that's probably one of the reasons why this game remains one of my fondest N64 experiences. Is just all the amazing memories playing it in multiplayer, playing it with the friends, like. Oh man, like just one of the absolute highlights of growing up was this game in 4-player split screen. And then like even when someone wanted to be a dick and play as Oddjob, like it's still overall just so amazing. And like the days where I'm lucky enough to actually find 4 people willing to still play it, it's still a blast. Like all limitations aside, like it's still such a blast just doing all the insane things. Yeah. And again, switch to 1.2 solitaire and multiplayer, and like the verticality of some of the levels is no longer a problem. Turn off auto aim because auto aim makes it way too easy.
Oh, yeah. You got real skill. Don't have the computer aim for you.
I think the World Championship was happening as we are filming this, to be honest, today anyway. Ooh. So that's kind of cool.
That is cool. Yeah. I can't say much about the multiplayer, because I haven't played it since the 90s, if I'm honest, because I don't have that group of friends that's...
We'll need to net play it.
Yeah, we'll net play that. Yeah, we'll net play that for sure. And try the Source mod, too.
Oh, dude, the Source mod's so much fun. I was sad that we weren't able to stream that on the anniversary, but well.
Yeah.
Community night for Goldeneye Source.
I regrettably had work, so that's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Oh, well.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I don't want to talk too much about the multiplayer as much as I would love to, but I do share a lot of those memories.
Well, just give us a story that you remember.
Oh gosh. The story I remember is just rockets. Just rockets.
Oh yeah.
Only weapon, narrow corridors, madness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was my cup of tea. I was just rockets, narrow corridors, boom. Like, what was it? Runway? Yeah, I played it on Runway a lot. So, paintball mode.
Oh, yes. That was...
I love paint.
We had to turn on paintball mode a lot because my parents started becoming aware of just how gory the game was after you start shooting people for a while. So we had to start doing paintball mode to get them off our backs.
Yeah, that I had to do that. I actually lost it for a little bit until I convinced my mom, no, it has paintball mode.
Yep. It made me extremely happy that Perfect Dark had a paintball mode by default instead of having it be an unlockable cheat.
Yeah, that was probably done because they got a lot of complaints from kids like us.
Oh,
like,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, my mom won't let me play Goldeneye. I need paintball mode.
Oh, yeah. Oh, this is the game that made my parents very aware of what ESRB ratings meant, and I got flack for anything T and up from that point forward. Like, my goodness. Thanks,
Goldeneye. That's regrettably one of the memories that still sticks with me. Is like we were playing, you know, my mom was walking by, and then like I died, and the blood came down. And she was like, "What?" Yeah, I remember the game ending abruptly there. So.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I got it back later after no paintball mode.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So.
Oh man.
Yeah. So a lot of fun. I'm not sure. Like I said, I would have to play again now to compare it. I do think modern shooters have probably spoiled me on the multiplayer front. Not weapons or control wise, but probably map wise.
Yeah.
Because when I think of multiplayer, good multiplayer that I really enjoy, I think of like Halo, where map traversal is part of it. And let's be honest, as iconic as the multiplayer is in Goldeneye, it is just a bunch of rooms slapped together. There's no strategic importance to any point.
I'm going to have to disagree there a little bit. There's some really strategic points in certain maps, but there's way to counter-navigate as well in a lot of the maps. So I think there can be. Facility is probably one of the least best examples for that. But, I mean, like in Stack, like there's a lot of traversal and a lot of different little areas you can go in, the secret doors. So gonna have to hard disagree there to an extent.
Well, I'll reserve the right to disagree then until we play a match. We'll have to get two more and just do it like the old days over net play.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. Oh yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that. It's on. So follow up then.
All right, let's go. But yeah, continue along. I interrupted you there to.
Nah, you're good. That was pretty much the point. I remember a lot of the levels just being different corridors, and especially like complex, where you can get into a spot and you're literally just stuck there, and you have to fight your way out. Although maybe that's just part of the fun.
Can be, really can be. Especially if you're playing the Golden Gun game type.
Yeah, I think a part of that too is I like objective games like Capture the Flag. So things like that really wouldn't work with these map layouts.
Nah, not so much. It'd have to be one-sided, and even then, like...
Yeah, like doing a one-sided anything on Complex would be a pain. But again, that's me taking modern games and applying it to past games. So
that's part of why people have opinions about this game that they do, is just because of modern games. But I mean, that's certainly a valid look at it. Like, if you like objective type games, like, you're not going to get this out of the classic multiplayer in this. Like, this is straight up deathmatch. So I mean, it's valid. Like, it's a valid thing.
Yeah.
Controls are not, though. If you complain about the controls, you're just...
You haven't taken the 30 seconds to swap through the proper controls. Yeah.
You suck. See how many people are still watching by this point.
We've insulted your banjo and your Goldeneye. Although this time we're defending Goldeneye.
No, we're defending Goldeneye. Goldeneye is a good game. Goldeneye holds up.
Goldeneye is a good game.
And that just segues us here to the end. Like, I don't really have anything else to really discuss about it.
Yeah.
The game holds up surprisingly well. It's a good retro shooter, even on original hardware. Like, if you play on emulation, you're going to have a lot better experience. You can put in higher resolution graphics. You could put in higher frame rates if you need to. But, I mean, even on original N64 hardware with its limited resolution, with its limited frame rate at times, this game has an open frame rate that can go anywhere from like 10 FPS all the way up to 60, depending on what's happening. And I mean, even with that fluctuation, like, this game is so fun to still play through. Like, I think anyone can really play through this game.
It also has widescreen support, like native widescreen support. Like, they did not have to do that, so that was very handy.
Unfortunately, it was before they did more surround sound stuff with N64. Like, it missed the surround sound thing that Perfect Dark would get later, but like, even still, the audio work is so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, this game has a lot of modern features for a 1997 game. Like, it's impressive.
Yeah. But, it's
anyone can
it's
pick
kind
this
of
game
a shame
up.
that people judge all of this just because of the controls alone, right? Like, because if you can get past the controls, and graphics, there is a lot of modern game in there to enjoy.
Especially now that modern games are trying to replicate what these games did. Like, perfect game.
Here's
not a perfect game.
Here's an example for you. Go to Steam, look up Agent 64 Spies Never Die. You're welcome.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But yeah. My closing thoughts, this game still holds up as long as you take 10 seconds to change the default controls. Like, you can't handle low res, low FPS, play it on an emulator, increase them. But even on original hardware, it's still one of the best N64 games that was ever made. The game was just so well put together. There are a few things that don't hold up, like enemy AI and Natalia and the inventory, but otherwise, like, it's just a good retro shooter. Like, even 25 years later, it is still fun to play through. The mission design, the objectives, like the increasing objectives, like, it's all well done. Like, it's challenging. It's fun to play. And if you are going to not take 10 seconds to change the controls, if you are going to judge it on visuals, like, all right, don't play a fun game then. Like, you're lost.
Yeah. I think my thoughts are pretty much the same. It's, like, you have to look, again, you can't retroactively apply modern game design to it. Like, you have to look at it in the time that it was developed. You have to look at it like a 90s video game. And when you look at other 90s video games, it, it holds up because, just because it's dated, it doesn't mean it's broken.
Yeah.
Unlike other games, which are just broken.
Yeah.
And to its credit, if you compare it even to some newer games that came out after it, it's still better than those.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of those games, like, and there are things that perhaps don't age well, like I said, leaving a level accidentally. But that's just a modern expectation. If you look at the game with the proper lens, if you give it the respect it deserves, it will reward you with a challenge. Because if you're a kind of person that would play Dark Souls, like, there are other games where you have to respect the game. This is just one of those games. So you have to look past, like, oh, that's an old game, so it's bad. It's like, no. It's an old game. That's all.
Yeah.
Right. If you give it the respect it deserves, it'll give you a fair challenge.
Oh, yeah.
Because it doesn't cheat outside of Natalia. Right.
Well, some enemies shoot you out of draw distance, which sucks, but
true. But
you could
yeah,
cheese
like,
them easy enough that it kind of balances it, I guess.
Yeah, it's not like Halo Jackal snipers, though. Like, the game is fair. You just have to approach it carefully, thoughtfully, and you will get a good challenge. So to wrap that all up, it's a good game. Don't let the dated control schemes scare you. Just take the 30 seconds to change it to a more modern control scheme and have fun.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, I say definitely recommend it still, even in the here and now. If you want to play a retro inspired shooter, like, still holds up.
Yeah. And if the graphics are a problem for you, like I said, just play it in an emulator.
Yep.
Like,
and
there are no limitations. And if you are absolutely insane, you could even map an Xbox controller to controller ports 1 and 2 and legitimately play it dual stick by setting it to the, I don't know what the settings called in the game,
2.1
like
through 2.4 or something.
Yeah,
But
it's like you can literally play with two N64 controllers.
Yep.
So you just map one Xbox controller to that, and you literally get dual stick controls.
Yep, it's true.
There are no barriers to this. You just have to set it up.
And if you want a game that still plays like Goldeneye, has the feel of Goldeneye, like, check out Time Splitters 2 as well.
Yeah.
Time Splitters 2 on GameCube,
Time
Xbox,
Splitters 2 is
PS2.
very good.
It's made by the same people that did Goldeneye, so it actually has a very similar look and feel to the way it handles things, but of course it's its own original story. And then, of course, Perfect Dark got a Xbox 360 re-release that you could play on 360, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X because of backwards compatibility. So, I mean, that's the direct sequel from GoldenEye's Perfect Dark, so it's really cool to see how far it came in that amount of time as well. But I don't think we really have anything else to say about this one, so we're going to be figuring out next month's Game of the Month. Thank you again to Zachary for keeping me company on this one. I really appreciate it. Again, this is open to pretty much everybody, so if you're interested, you can join the Discord, check out the Game of the Month channel, add in suggestions for what you'd like to see happen as a Game of the Month, and then we can go from there. But until next time, Zachary, thank you once again for spending this time with me to discuss GoldenEye 007.
Yeah, anytime.
All right. And we will see
I'll see
everyone
you when
back.
we do 4-player.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll see you all back next time.